Basketball's in the bubble. Who's the greatest of all time? It's the basketball show here on CIH Media. I'm back in the hot seat. And the Iceman and I, we're coming in hot. Welcome back to Comin In Hot here on CIH Media. You know the Iceman Mike Perkins. I'm Eric Pesolano, and it's our big basketball show. We've got a lot to talk about here today, but something's missing. As we notice, our good buddy Chuck the Laser Lasik not with us.
The Laser's not here.
He's not here, but he's going to be back with us soon. So we're going to need to switch things around just a little bit. And you know what? I think the magic of television can help us out. Let's see. Hey, look at that. Did that work?
And we're back.
It worked.
Huh?
That was the cheesiest television moment of all time, and I'm so glad we were able to pull it off.
I can't wait to see how it looks.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look at the budget, though, because I think that just cost $14,000 to edit. Maybe that's the last time we do that. But in all seriousness, we miss the Laser. He'll be back soon.
Looking forward to it.
But we're here for the big basketball show. We're going to answer your questions here on the air. We got a lot of people to submit. Thank you so much for your time and for everything you want us to answer. We got a lot. And the show's called Comin In Hot. I get a feeling we're going to get real heated later.
It is a warm day out here in Southern California, but a great day to do a show.
Oh, you were talking weather. I was talking us.
Well, that's a given. We are coming in hot.
Yeah. You know what?
Always.
One thing we didn't mention.
And you were coming in hot today, which is not very usual.
A little uncharacteristic.
Yes, it's usually roles reversed.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie about it. I'm usually pretty transparent. I had some shaving issues this morning. It caused me to be late. The Clippers just weren't my friend. The Clippers aren't a lot of people's friend, as we'll find out in the basketball show today.
Maybe we could find a supporter that would get us all some new razors, huh? What do you think about that?
Look at you trying to peddle to the advertisements.
Well,
I like it.
If somebody's out there that has an idea, let us know.
Let's get a sponsor in. You know what one thing was we didn't mention last week? The swag.
Yeah, what do you think?
We didn't talk about the swag.
I like it.
I like it. It's very comfortable.
I like the logo.
We're repping the company now. They take care of us around here.
They?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'll go along with that.
All right. Basketball is the name of the game today.
Here we go.
We're gonna focus mostly on professional basketball. We'll touch on college a little bit, I'm sure.
Let me just start off with this. Is that typically I'm a big college basketball fan. I love college ball.
You love college everything. You love the sports.
Don't get me wrong. I like NBA basketball, but I prefer to watch college ball. But I am very excited for this show here. I am a late 80s, 90s basketball fan.
Yep.
Not as up to speed on today's game, but I do have some takes on what's going on.
How have you enjoyed playing the bubble so far?
I don't think it's really changed anything. I think these are professional athletes. They perform at a professional level. I think that no fans take something out of it for them. But, again, these are professional athletes. These guys are trained to play basketball at a high level and a high pace, and that's the way they're always going to play.
Yeah, and I like the neutral court aspect to it. I think it's something we've always wanted. We always have that debate in college football. What would happen if these two teams met on a neutral field? We get to see this in the NBA and
it's different.
The NHL. We saw it in MLS just for that midseason tournament. But I think it's been great to watch, and I think everybody loosens up a little bit more. They play their game a little bit better.
I think it has more to do with the no fans, because even though we see some neutral site games in some other sports, they still are allowed to bring their fans with them. And if your program travels well, then you may have an edge.
Right. So I think everything that's happened, mostly in Orlando and the NHL up in Canada, but I think the bubble aspect has been great. I love watching it. Like I said, I think the players are loosening up. It kind of leads into our first question here. Comes from Dalen Lawrence on Facebook, who asks, has the restart of the NBA in the bubble increased player performance, and has playing in the bubble with no crowd helped out the younger players?
I think one thing that it has allowed is the players just to focus on basketball. They don't have a whole lot of other things going on in their lives other than coming to the stadium, practicing, and playing. And, listen, I mean, everybody's got their families or their personal lives that they have to deal with, but this has allowed the players to actually come in and really focus on the game.
And, he asked about has no crowd helped younger players. I think so a little bit, but I think more so the fact that there's no fans on either side have helped the younger players. There's pressure to perform, right? They're auditioning not just for the team they're on, but maybe for another team who's looking at them in the future. But you look at a guy like Bol, who plays for the Denver Nuggets.
He's been impressive.
A 7-footer who came out of high school right here.
Mater Dei.
Down south at Mater Dei. I actually got to watch him play in high school in a travel ball tournament and call his games, actually. And that kid's impressive. But I think the lack of fans in the bubble and you're just focused on what you're doing has increased performance, and you look at him, and I think
his reach is unbelievable. Just some of the things that he can do with his reach is fun to watch.
Yeah, he's the biggest example of this for me. The no pressure aspect.
How tall is he?
Is he 7'1"?
No, 7'1".
Yeah. I
7'1".
think he's 7'1". He might be 7'2".
All right, that's big.
There's people at home right now screaming through the
I know.
through their mobile device or streaming device they're using, saying, "No, it's this, no, it's that." I think he's 7'2".
Okay.
And I think it's increased player performance overall. You look at a guy like T.J. Warren. You look at Devin Booker. Devin Booker has been great since he's entered the league. But a guy like T.J. Warren, who before the bubble was averaging a little bit over 17 points per game for the Pacers, now he's averaging over 33. I think this thing has done great. It has been great for players who are, A, going to be looking for a contract soon, and B, guys who just need a little confidence booster.
No, I think fans definitely puts a little something into it on both sides. Some players play to the fans and they thrive. Other fans, other players may get a little bit nervous at times in pressure situations, especially when you have 15,000, 20,000 fans sitting there staring at you when you're standing at the free throw line late in the game. So I do think that there's some of that comes into play.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with it. And again, when you look at Booker and the Suns 6-0 at the time we recorded this show, Suns touching on the heartstrings a little bit during player introductions for their game. Got the families of the players from their homes to record their player intros. So that was something to see down there in the bubble in Orlando. I'm excited for the postseason as soon as the playoffs start. First of all, we're going to have a play-in series in the Western Conference.
Have they determined how many games there's going to be yet, or
so? What it's going to be is, if the 9 seed is within 4 games or less of the 8 seed, there will be a play-in series. That's guaranteed to happen now with only 2 games left.
Yep.
And Memphis and Portland there jockeying for the 8 and 9. Whoever is the 8 only has to win once. Whoever's the 9 has to beat the 8 twice to advance.
All right.
So it's almost like a best of 3, but you start down 1-0 if you're the 9 seed.
Yeah, if you're the higher seed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that could be a fun couple days right there. If they get past that first game, it'll be fun to watch. So, I'm also a fan of all the little quirks and rule changes. Everyone get up in arms. Oh, this season shouldn't count because of blah blah blah. Just enjoy that it's different.
We're fortunate to have the game back. I mean, to me, that's the way I look at it. And this has actually forced me to watch more basketball now than. Well, I mean, I'm sorry. I'm a hockey fan, right?
Right.
And in both sports are competing against each other for fans, and for me, I prefer to turn on the NHL channel.
Is it killing you that we're recording this during an overtime right now?
It is absolutely, absolutely. But I've been looking forward to this conversation for quite some time. When we put this on the docket, I was very excited to talk some NBA basketball.
And I know you can't wait for the last question.
Well, there's a couple in there as well. I think we got some good pieces coming forward.
I think you're right. Okay, let's move on to the second question. This one also comes to us from Facebook. It's Brandon Rice, who asks, in this time of free agency and super teams, do you prefer the lost art of building a team through draft and development, or the new way of stars coming together to form a super team?
For me, it comes down to the simple fact that the players have too much power in the game right now. I like that they have some power. I don't want to see them taken advantage of by ownerships, but I don't like it where it becomes where this is my buddy. I want to bring him with me. I just don't believe in that concept of building teams, right? And it takes a lot of the work of the GM out of their hands. If I was in the NBA working in management, this would really upset me and my inability to do the work that I want to do to create the kind of team that I envision, instead of allowing top players in the league to kind of dictate that.
Okay, I more disagree with you than I agree with you there. I agree with some parts. I mostly disagree with it, and here's why. There was a time when you could not touch the rim to score a basket. There was a time when the three-point line didn't exist.
Yes.
There was a time when free agency didn't exist.
There it was.
And now I think this is the next evolution. Let the players control where they want to go. The other part I disagree with is the general manager takes it out of their hands. I think it actually makes their job a little bit more strenuous, because you've got a fan base who says, let's take the Lakers, for example, with Anthony Davis and LeBron James.
Yep.
We want both of those guys to play against each other on the same team. All right, you're Rob Pelinka. You've got to figure out, how am I going to make that work? You've got to cut somewhere to make that happen. You've got to convince one of those players to take a pay cut to make that happen. There's a lot of things and a lot of pieces that still have to be moved around to make these things work. The part where I agree with you, and you didn't really mention it, but I think it underlies in there, is where it hurts the small market teams. And I think that if you're a team like Milwaukee, who has navigated this very well, by the way, and to Brandon's question here, building through the draft and development part, that's where the smaller market teams have to be more savvy than the bigger market teams. That's the only part where I would disagree with that, if I'm reading into a little behind the scenes of what you're saying. But I think this is the next evolution, and if I got a guy and I want to play with him down in Miami, make it happen and watch these guys dominate. People get so upset about teams winning over and over and over again, and I'm so bored of
I'm not worried about that. I don't want it to turn into a popularity contest. I don't, just because I like you or we're friends, I want you to come play with me. Sports to me has never been about that. It's about building new relationships, no matter what team you're on. If you get traded, if you get drafted, or whatever it might be, you have to go in, you have to work with the existing players, you have to go in and work with the existing GM's vision of what the team is supposed to be, and then try to find your way into that lineup and make a difference on a night-to-night basis.
Look, that's all well and good, and I appreciate that sentiment, but if we go back to the old way and it's just draft and development, we don't get to see LeBron play with AD.
If this is the new evolution, so be it. I guess I'm just a little bit hesitant to players with too much power in that regard.
Yeah, and you know what? And I'm okay with that. I think the players should be allowed to drive where they want to go, who they want to play with. And if one player on that team is going to be the assistant GM in some realms, so be it. You got to do what you got to do to win, as long as it's within the rules.
That's where
Houston Astros notwithstanding.
That's where I can agree with you. It's about winning. At the end of the day, at the professional sports level, it's all about winning.
And I don't care who you are, and if you're in the race for greatest of all time, you want to bring in a buddy to help you get that chip, do it. I don't care. You got to do what you got to do to win.
We'll see.
All right. Let's move on to number 3. Jonathan Rushing on Facebook wants to know what player is most valuable to their team right now. He put some specifics. He wants to know, is it Giannis, is it LeBron, is it Harden, is it Doncic? What do you think? Is there any of those four, or is there somebody else?
Well, I got to go with my boy from Bellflower. Went to Artesia High School. Yep, James Harden. He
did not have a battle with the Clippers today, from what I understand. Him and I have that one thing not in common.
Not in common. So I am a big Harden fan. I love his style. He's not the prettiest. He's got handles. He's got moves. But to me, he's from the old school to a certain extent. His ability to think the game, to see the game. He's got great court vision. Some of the plays that he makes are unbelievable. He makes clutch plays. To me, he really lines up with a lot of things that I look for in a basketball player when I watch. I really enjoy watching him play. And he's got a little bit of swag to his, with the beard and everything. That's all part of his show.
So, do you think if he's not there, you think if he's not there, the team's not as successful?
Yeah.
But do you think that team can win without him, even with Russell Westbrook around?
Not as much as they are, right? To me, I think what he brings is some leadership. The guys really look to him on a night in, night out basis to go out and perform and do what he does on the floor. And if he's not having his best game, the team follows. I mean, I don't have all the stats in my brain on the whole deal, but I can tell you right now is that team does not play or perform to its top level if he's not playing at his height.
All right, I'm going to go much to the northwest of that.
Okay.
Damian Lillard. I think he's the most important player to his team right now. I don't think it's close. I think you could argue Booker for Phoenix, but Phoenix isn't going to make a run at a title. Portland could. And Portland is a team that could challenge the Lakers and knock them out in a 7-game series.
Yes.
And do it in 6.
Yes.
Will they? I don't know. We gotta wait to see if it's in the cards and if the matchups all work out. If it's a first-round matchup and I'm a Laker fan, I am scared as all heck to face Damian Lillard and the Portland Trailblazers. They are very well-rounded, and they've got a great 1-2 punch in Damian Lillard and C.J. McCollum. You've got a couple of sharpshooters there. Dame's not afraid
I don't
to
think the
pass
Lake
it, but
Show
he's the
knows what's
scorer.
coming at him. I got to be honest.
You think they're in trouble?
I think they're in trouble, and they have no clue what's coming.
I think if they avoid Portland early, they're going to win the championship.
Ooh.
They will beat the Clippers. I know. Okay. It's funny because everybody who knows me knows that I've got roots in Boston, and it pains me to even say anything nice about the purple and gold. But if you look at it objectively, these guys can run anybody out of the gym at any time, whenever they want.
When they want.
And that's the thing.
When they want.
And I think they will want, because they're in the best shape they've been in the last, since they won the championship.
I think
in
right
2010.
now bodes well for the Lakers.
I do too. I agree.
Being in the bubble bodes well. I think L.A. is one of the toughest places to win. There are so many distractions, and it's not just the Lakers. I think it's any professional sports team that is here in the Los Angeles area. It's one of the toughest places to win. There's just so much going on and so many things that you can get in trouble with.
They've already had to go through Orlando once to win a championship, and they're there again. They're not going to play the Magic, but they're in Orlando again. And they got a chance to do it, and I think it's better than a chance. I'm
going to keep my eye on that.
There's a lot of people who like the top part of the East in Milwaukee and Toronto and Boston. I'd love to see the Celtics get back. We got to reveal my allegiances, which is you're not supposed to do as a broadcaster, but I've been a Utah Jazz fan my whole life. I would love to see Utah do it. They're not gonna get out of the first round. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
I don't think so.
Not
either.
the way they played yesterday, and I don't care that Donovan Mitchell didn't play. They've already blown 2 18-plus point leads in this bubble, and that's ridiculous. I don't care who's on the floor. But when you look at the Lakers, this is a team that can run through anybody when they want to, and the when they want to is the big question for me. And I think they will want to, and I think they do get it done.
Well, it all comes down to LeBron for me. If he's going to be the leader that he can be the force that he can be, because he is an unbelievable talent. His physical size, his presence on the court, his court sense, he's just smart. For his size and his style of game, he is so smart.
Yeah.
But my question with him always is when and if he wants it. Because if he does, then there's not too many teams that can stop what he's got going on.
Let me quickly skip to a question below here. Zach Poff on Twitter wants to know Clippers or Lakers, and that's part of what we kind of jumped ahead a little bit, but wanted to make sure we get that question in. So, for me, it's Lakers.
I'm Lakers too,
and you're Lakers as well.
I just don't think the Clippers will ever have any identity of upward path until they are out from underneath the Lakers, and they have their own stadium. They have, once they go that direction, then I think they have some ability.
They will have their own place, and I think it'll be ready to go before the Olympics in 28.
You think so?
I think so.
Do you know the timeline?
I don't know a timeline. It's just a guess, and piecing together things you read here and there.
I almost feel like I want the Clippers to win.
Yeah.
I just don't think they can when they have to shuffle the Laker floor off the Staples Center and then put the Clipper floor on.
Right.
To me, that's just I've always felt like they've just never been treated correctly.
It's tough. You know what's funny? And I want to say 2006, and I'm sure the fans at home will correct me on this. We had a chance to see our first ever 7-game playoff series entirely played in the same building at Staples Center.
Yes.
Lakers, Clippers. And then the Lakers, they couldn't get past Phoenix in the first round. I think it was the first round. Well, it had to be the first round because the Clippers never got past the second round.
Yep, they didn't.
And we ended up with Phoenix and the Clippers that year. We're finally going to get all 7 games of a series in one building. Every game for the rest of the season will.
Yes, we'll be in the same building.
It's not in the same building because they're playing in 3 down there, but we know the NBA Finals will be in one building, so at least we're going to get that. But I agree with you. They've got to get out of that stigma of being behind the Lakers. The problem is when one team's got 16 titles and you've got none, and you've never even gotten to a conference finals. When is that even possible? But
that's the problem.
70, 80 years down the line.
They've been behind the Lakers so long, and they've been the second team.
And you have to credit a lot of that to ownership, and we know how terrible it was for years, and I think that has been straightened out.
Awful.
The problem is they're so far behind the 8 ball. It's going to take a while to even get anywhere near the Lakers if it ever does happen. But to get somewhere near prominence, you got to get to a conference final. You got to get to an NBA final. You got to win a title, and they haven't done either 3 of those things yet. And I don't think this is the year either.
To me, it's all about identity. It's all about culture for them. Once they create their own identity away from the Lakers, and they create their own culture, and then I think a lot of players will want to come to LA and be a part of the Clippers.
You know, it's funny in college football, USC always goes into every year saying our first goal is to win the Pac-12. But if that doesn't happen, the other thing is always we got to beat Notre Dame, we got to beat UCLA.
Yep.
Right? Those are the 2 big things. In the NBA and in professional sports, you can't really think like that. They have got to get out of we got to beat the Lakers. No, there's 28 other teams aside from them you got to beat also.
Again, I'll go back to what I was saying. I think it's all about them developing their own culture. And once they do that, once they figure that out, once they get out of the Staples Center, I think that's a possibility.
Yeah, and I think it's 5 or 6 years away. We talk about timeline. The pandemic has done a lot to that. Who knows where we stand on that now with the Clippers trying to move out. Still could be in place because we know that they've got the lease agreement with Staples Center for a while. So they can't really move out anytime soon anyway. So the timeline may not be affected, but you really never know when it comes to money and cash flow with everything going on right now. Clippers got to win games. I mean, I think that identity problem has been solved for them. I already think it does. I think the ownership change and the culture shock, and with Kawhi and Paul George coming in, I think they're in a great place. I just don't think they're as good as the team down the hall from them, and it's going to be a minute. There's a lot of people who like them to beat the Lakers this year or do better than them in the playoffs, and I don't discount their arguments. I just don't think it's going to happen.
The funny thing for me is just, since moving to the Los Angeles area, hearing it's almost like Angels-Dodgers to a certain extent, right? Whereas the Clippers, I hate to say that the Angels are like the Clippers. I hate to make that comparison, but it is to a certain extent, right? The Lakers just have the history, right? They have the tradition.
Let me make it clear that this is just a purely historic debate because the Angels have won a championship, and more recently than the Dodgers.
Yes.
So they have gotten there. Now, again, the Dodgers have quite a bit more titles under their belt.
History.
Yes, but as far as being the historic franchise,
tradition,
wherever most people follow.
To me, that's just a side fact that a lot of people discount is tradition. I'm sorry. It's any sport, whether it's the Montreal Canadiens or if it's Notre Dame football or it's just. If you have that tradition, when the players come there, there's a tradition that's been already put in place, and if you don't get on board with it, you're not going to be there long. I'm sorry, it's just the way it goes. And if you have a winning tradition, a winning culture that's been bred and grown year after year after year after year, it's just that's how you win. I'm sorry, that's how you have longevity as an organization.
So do you think the Clippers won't get much recognition from the general sports public until they how many do they have to win? How many do they have to win to get on the good side?
If you didn't live in LA, the majority of the country doesn't even know that there's a second basketball team here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, being the second team in a city is rough.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah, LA has 2 basketball teams.
Yeah.
That's what I get.
Chicago has 2 baseball teams.
Yeah, well,
New York has 2 baseball teams.
Yeah, but that's a little bit.
New York has 2 hockey teams.
It's a little bit different.
Kinda.
Yeah. Los Angeles has 2 hockey teams. The greater LA area.
The greater LA. You're going to rile up a whole other. Maybe that's a future episode.
Well, listen, man,
we talk about
I'm
LA
not
versus
from
Anaheim,
here,
LA versus OC.
But, when I go someplace and people ask, where do you live? The answer is Los Angeles. I mean, it is. Because if I say Tustin, I say Orange, I say Anaheim.
There's a way to get around that Los Angeles thing. You know that, right?
What, say Orange County?
No. What landmark does everybody use who lives out here? Where do you live?
What, by the beach?
By what? Something else.
Okay, give it to me.
By Disneyland. Everybody thinks they know where Disneyland is.
I'm in trouble now, by the way.
Everybody, I know you are.
I'm in trouble now.
Everybody across the country thinks they know where Disneyland. They have no idea where it is. So we just say by Disneyland, and they go, "Oh yeah, we know where that is." They don't know where it is. Anyway.
Next.
Don't forget, you can post your questions for each one of our shows on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at CIH Media. And we can take those questions. We'll put them right here on the show. We're doing it right now, so you know we're not lying to you. We're going to use them. So at the end of the episode, we reveal what we're going to talk about in the next show. You have the next show, too, by the way.
I do.
What are we talking about?
We're going to talk about NHL playoffs.
Oh,
of course. Stanley Cup playoffs. By that point, we should be pretty deep into it and have a pretty good idea who's going to make it into the conference finals and into the Stanley Cup playoff.
All right, so there you go. Submit your NHL playoff questions to us at CIH Media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We'll answer them on the next show. We got 2 more questions for you. This one comes from Lauren Aranda on Instagram, and she wants to know who are the top 10 biggest letdowns in the finals. In the interest of time, we'll cut it down.
Yeah.
But who are some of the letdowns in the NBA finals? Or 1 or 2.
I just did a little research. I'm just going to go back to 1975. The Golden State Warriors beat the Washington Bullets.
Woo!
In the final, upset. At that time, the Bullets were at the height of who they were, and the Warriors took them down.
That was a great team.
Yep.
Yeah, sticking with California.
Yep.
I love it. Mine is outside of California. It actually goes back to when LeBron James went to his first NBA Finals and played against the Spurs, and they got swept very, very quickly.
Go home.
And it was 4-0, and the kid had all the hype. He was going to save Cleveland. He's finally going to do it. And then Tim Duncan, David Robinson just punched him in the face.
I think they call it the Cleveland curse.
Yeah. Was Robinson there? Now that I think about it, what was that, 2003, 2004? Might have been later than that. I don't know. You think I would have looked this up before I came on the air, but I didn't. I just remember the finals and watching all the games going, come on, LeBron, you can do it. He couldn't do it. And I think that was a huge letdown. I don't think the ratings were great that year, too, because of it. I mean, Spurs Nets wasn't a great. That was a letdown in ratings, ratings-wise. But a letdown as far as what you wanted to see, I think Cleveland not being able to not even win a game, not even win a game against the Spurs was a huge letdown.
I don't think he's ever gotten over that one. I think that was.
You might be right.
I think that was a big hit.
I think that's probably why he went back.
Yeah, for sure.
Which leads us to our final question.
Here we go.
And we've got 5 minutes. But leave it to Austin Mater on Instagram, who wants to know, LeBron or MJ, who is the greatest of all time?
You first.
Okay. It's LeBron James. It's not close for me. Everybody at home is screaming, I'd imagine. And mine has nothing to do based on stats. And it never will. I don't really care how many titles he's won. And when you talk about greatest of all time for me, greatest of all time to me means if you could pick any player in his prime throughout the history of the NBA to start your franchise, who would it be? And I'm taking LeBron James, number 1, every single time.
The only category that he wins for me is longevity. He is proven to be, and again, we're talking about the greatest of all time, so I'm not discounting what he is or what he's done or what he will continue to do. Mm-hmm. I think he's an unbelievable talent. He's one of the greatest. He's probably on Mount Rushmore.
Okay, yeah. Well,
right?
For me, he'd be
right?
number 1.
So he's probably on Mount Rushmore. So with that being said, I cannot go with him because I just don't think he checks all the boxes. And I know
the boxes. I want to know what the boxes
are. I know your discount. Well, the first and foremost is winning.
Okay.
Right? 6 times to the finals, 6 wins. Right? So, And LeBron on the other side, he's had some opportunities and he's missed out on them. Yeah, he's gotten his share now, but I don't think his story is complete just yet for me to lean that direction. So pure winning, it's got to go MJ. Statistically, MJ wins in every category. The only time that LeBron even comes close in statistics is if you make comparison from non-positional comparison. Because if you're looking at shooting guard versus power forward, there's just, sometimes your field goal percentage is just going to be a lot different because so now, MJ's shooting shots from quite a bit further out, from anywhere from 10 to 15 feet, whereas LeBron, you're talking about a lot of putbacks, layups, and dunks. So, of course, from a field goal percentage standpoint, he's going to have some better stats in that category. But if you go to real flat-out statistics, if you go to analytics, and I'm not schooled in the analytics world of basketball, but the little bit that I do know, MJ checks that box.
I'm going back to what we just argued a little bit ago. We didn't really argue it because we kind of agreed, he can do whatever he wants when he wants to, and I don't think Michael Jordan could.
To me,
he made a lot of clutch shots, and he could dribble around anybody, and he could pass the ball, and he had 5 guys around him at all time who could be an all-star, and LeBron never has.
MJ was, but to me, he was more clutch than LeBron is. I'm sorry. He got it done when it counted 6 times to the finals, 6 wins. He was the catalyst in making that happen. He led his team. He was the most important player to that team at that time. I know the game was a little bit different. It was a lot more physical at that time. So he had.
Look, I don't disagree with he led his team and he was the guy. My thing is his team was so much better than any team LeBron has played on so far. And LeBron was somehow found his way to get to 8 NBA Finals now. He's won 3 of them. He's still got a long way to go. He could get to 6, but he played on some really bad teams
Eric,
that made the finals.
If he gets to 6, then I will. I don't want to say I'm going to concede, but I will have to rethink. But the way it stands today, I just think Michael checks more boxes than LeBron does.
I think if I need a guy who can go body up somebody down low, and impose his will, or go out and shoot a 3 and be that versatile, it's LeBron every time. You can put him wherever you want on the floor, and he was going to be like a Magic Johnson type, where you could put him wherever you wanted.
That's one area.
Be a center, you could do it.
That's definitely an area that I have to concede, is that LeBron can play every position offensively and defensively.
And that's my biggest argument for that, is if I need a guy to go anywhere, it's going to be him. Here's one real quick. This is from Dan Burton on Facebook, who says, if LeBron gets a 4th title in the bubble, does that plus the 5 other runners-up stand as a greater argument than MJ's 6?
Runners-up doesn't mean anything. That's first loser.
So 4 and 5 in the finals is not better than 6-0.
Really, I mean, I'm not discounting the bubble factor, and to me, I just. But
by the way,
it's not even, to me, that's not even a question.
Let me also say, 4 and 5 to 6-0. I get it. There's 5 losses in there. I understand that. That's not an argument. Statistically, 6-0 is definitely better than 4 and 5. That's not even close to an argument. But when you're talking about a guy getting his team to darn near the ship there and getting it to the end 9 times in the NBA Finals, and he's 35 years old right now. I know he's only a few months older than I am, but he's gone to 9. LeBron or Michael got to 6, and then by then that was pretty much it.
I'm gonna make one last push here.
Okay.
At the end of the game, LeBron knows that he's not a great free throw shooter. He shies away from going to the paint late in the game, whereas Michael wanted the ball. He would go to the hoop. He would make plays. He would pressure the situation because he knew at the end of the game he wanted the ball, no matter if it was during play or at the free throw line. And I'll take that guy any day of the week.
And I'm going to take to my grave with me that the first 46 minutes of the game are just as important as the last 2.
I'm not discounting that, but in sports, the finish is to me the finish is the most important. You can play 46 minutes of great basketball, but if the last few minutes are awful, it doesn't mean anything.
It's a full game. It's 48 minutes.
Doesn't mean
I'm
anything.
taking LeBron every time over Michael. That's the end of the story for me. You're taking MJ. Go to our social media accounts at CIH Media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Do you agree with us? Let us know. We'll read some of your comments on the air when we can get a chance to do so. Don't forget, our next show will be coming up soon. We're going to talk the Stanley Cup playoffs with the Iceman
Looking
in
forward
the
to
hot
it.
seat.
Yeah, it should be good.
What are you looking forward to in this playoff format? Now we're back down to normal.
We're back to normal. 16 teams. We're going to play a 7-game series. I'm really looking forward to see what the Vegas Golden Knights can do. And I'm just going to kind of leave it at that right now because I really think that they have a nice team that can do a lot of different stuff. They can play a physical game. They can play an up-tempo game. They get up and down the ice very well, and they have some key players that just find ways to make things happen at the right times of the game.
Did I show you my playoff bracket yet?
No, you have not. I would love to see it.
Who do you think I picked to win?
Tampa.
No. I picked Vegas.
Oh!
That's going to do it for
Booyah.
us here
Boom.
on Comin In Hot. He's the Iceman, Mike Perkins. I'm Eric Pesolano. Go to social media, at CIH Media. Submit your questions for the Stanley Cup playoffs. We'll read them on the air on the next show. Thanks so much for joining us here on CIH Media. We've been coming in hot. Thanks so much for joining us.